Yo, welcome back to the No Cut Sports Podcast with your host, Niall Frazier. And you already know, man, when y'all see this face, man, you know we got some things to talk about, especially about my man back here. Both of my guys back here, actually. But before we get started, if you could for me, please like, comment, and subscribe to always catch this vibe. I really do appreciate all the love and support I get from the channel. As you know, just a passionate Eagles fan, just up here talking my talk, man. So like I said, if y'all could just do me that favor, like, comment, and subscribe to always catch this vibe. And let's get into it, man. We got some things to talk about. As y'all know, it's draft week. We're a few days out from the NFL draft, and a lot of things been going on, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles, as some of you may already have heard. With the AJ Brown situation, it seems that he does want out as of yesterday. Adam Schefter, which the news that he's dropping is nothing new that we haven't heard before. But at the same time, it's getting more and more clear that AJ Brown does not want to be here and be in the Philadelphia Eagles uniform anymore. Adam Schefter came out yesterday, I want to say around 6:30 a.m. in the morning, and dropped another article saying that it's more than likely that AJ Brown does get traded after the June 1st deadline. So we don't have to incur a crazy cap hit. I mean, we still do incur a cap hit, I think under 20 million. I think it's around like 16 to 18 million, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, man, and I'm gonna just say this, I'm not gonna be too long-winded on the situation. I'm a 33-year-old man, so I am a little bit older than AJ Brown. And he probably didn't see more than I've seen, but at the same time, I could say the same for myself when it comes to him. But I do think when it comes to somebody not wanting to be around or be here, and I'm just speaking about in life, things change. You know what I'm saying? You know, when he first got here, I guess he was happy to be here. He went to multiple Super Bowls with the team, ended up winning one. But it seems like A.J. Brown is just not happy. Now, I can't speculate about why he's not happy. I don't know if it's Jalen Hurts. I don't know if it's the front office or a combination of things, Nick Sirianni. My thing was more or less of a Nick Sirianni situation because it's been multiple times that I've talked about, and this is no disrespect to Nick, but it's been multiple times that I've talked about Nick Sirianni on here, and then you see how the offense is being run where they'll go up, say they're up 20 points or say they're up, 10, 15 points, whatever the case may be, and they take their foot off the pedal when it comes to the offense. Now, I don't know if that's a Nick Sirianni thing. I don't know if that's a Jalen Hurts thing, but overall, players don't players can't continue to get paid if they're not performing. Now, I'm not saying AJ Brown's not performing, but at the same time, things change, bro. You bring Saquon in here. You bring, you know what I'm saying? You have Devontae Smith. You got Dallas Goddard. So AJ Brown is not going to get all the same touches that he used to get when he first got here. If it's something along the lines of, that, I mean, I guess I can understand that he wants out. Now, do I like the way he kind of went about it? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. No. I feel as though during the season there was a lot of nonsense going on. Getting on Jinky Rondo's podcast and saying it was a shit show, regardless if it was or if it wasn't. If you play the sport, you know you're not really supposed to talk about what goes on in that locker room. So if he felt a way, you go to the proper sources and you express yourself in that way. Now I'm not saying he didn't do that, but some of the things he did do, you got to take some blame for. You know what I'm saying? He's a grown man. I know he understands that. But at the same time, I can't be mad at AJ Brown. What am I mad? And I want people to really understand this. What are we mad at AJ Brown for? Because this is no different than if he gets older and we have to move on from him or whatever the case may be. His contract's up, he leaves. What is the difference? The man he took us to two Super Bowls, not him per se, but when he got here, he did help us get to two Super Bowls, as well as, excuse me, win us a Super Bowl. So I can't really be mad at AJ Brown. I do understand that he is a diehard Patriots fan and things like that. But I just didn't like the way he went about it. And like, I'm not trying to sit here and spread no rumors, but with the Diana Rossini, excuse me, with the Diana Rossini situation and Mike Vrabel, like I said, I don't care about the marital thing about it. I mean, I do, but that got nothing to do with me. I was more concerned about how this information was getting out, and this is what I'm speaking about with AJ Brown. Him acting the way that he was acting during the season. They said he asked for a trade. What was that? Week 3, week 4? You feel what I'm saying? So the season had just started. He already wanted out. Mind you, we had just won a Super Bowl a few months before that. So it kind of was kind of crazy to me at the time, but like I said, man, you can't keep somebody that does not want to be here. Now, with all that being said, if he decides to stay, then that's all good and dandy. But hopefully he buys into what's going on. But it seems more apparent that he will be leaving his team. So, like I said, I really appreciate what AJ Brown has done for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not gonna get on here and bash the man or nothing like that because he did bring us a Super Bowl. That's more than what we could say for T.O. when he went through his situation here with McNabb and the Philadelphia Eagles and things like that. But I'm not gonna get on here and bash that man. You know what I'm saying? Like what he want to do is what he want to do. He going to have to live with his decisions, just like anybody else. You got to live with if this is what he wants to do. He wants to go there. By all means, I wish him well. I wish him all the success because I'm not a hater. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not a hater. I understand how this works. This is a business at the end of the day. Yes, we are fans and we get we buy the jerseys or whatever the case may be, and get all infatuated with the player. But at the end of the day, these players don't play forever, nor do they play for your team forever. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, like I said, AJ Brown, greatly appreciate you if you do leave. But if you don't leave, I'm gonna need you to get on board. But it's just like I said, it seems more apparent that he will be leaving. And then now today, with the Mike Vrabel situation, he has come out and spoken to the media. He said he addressed the players yesterday about his situation with Diana Rossini and how that all supposedly got misconstrued. But from the statement that he made, and if I have the clip, I'll put it in here. But from the statements that he made, he didn't deny that he wasn't having relations with the woman and things like that. So one can only know if this will be a tampering case or not. But from the information that I saw before I hopped on here, it said that the NFL was not investigating this situation. So if something changes, then I'll let y'all know. But I haven't seen anything since, so we'll see. But like I said, he addressed the team. I know Mike Vrabel and AJ Brown have a very good connection and things like that. Probably even better connection than what AJ Brown and Nick Sirianni had. And like I said, if he decides to go, which it seems likely, I have to keep saying that it seems likely that he's leaving. We're gonna, excuse me. I hope he finds what he's looking for over there. But now this is a situation that he's gonna have to deal with if he gets traded there because that's gonna pop up. You got to think like I said, I didn't want to be too long-winded with this, but we trade AJ Brown right after June 1st. Now AJ Brown is going to be a Patriot, whatever the case may be. And he's going to have to show out, do whatever he does. But when something goes wrong, that's when the narrative is going to start. Well, why he didn't want to stay with the Eagles? Why did he want to come here with Mike Vrabel after this situation came out? Now some people are saying that this deal has already been done, like not in a sense of in the paper, but they talked to one another and they were like, if nothing changes, we'll see what we can do after June 1st. So I'm thinking that this deal is done. This is a situation that he's going to have to deal with as well. He will be a player under Mike Vrabel. If the team doesn't have the success that they did have last year, which I'm not, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm really not expecting them to go back to a Super Bowl, of course. But I do expect them, I guess they'll do well. You feel what I'm saying? They do got some players over there, especially if they add AJ Brown. But I'm just hoping he finds the happiness that he's looking for, man. Because I don't really understand what went wrong, like I said, with AJ Brown. But at the end of the day, he's a grown man. He can decide what he wants to do. So, like I said, shout out to AJ Brown. And hopefully with this Diana Rossini Mike Vrabel situation, maybe we get a compensation from it. I don't know, but it seems like some inside issues going on. I'm gonna just leave it at that. But moving on, I wanted to talk about Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts has been working out with his ex QB coach that we just had here this past year, and Scott Loeffler. Scott was him and Scott were both at Temple University getting some practice in, along with Quincy Avery, longtime quarterbacks guru, whatever you want to call him, but guru and helping Jalen through some training and things like that. But the biggest thing I think people are missing is Scott Loeffler, and I want to make sure I say this right because I don't want to say they run the same style of offense, but some of the concepts that Scott Loeffler uses, crossers, uh, seam routes, things like that, passes over the middle, are things that we're looking to incorporate in the Sean Mannion system. Or I hope I say Sean's name right, his last name. I do apologize. but Sean Mannion's system. So um, I'm thinking more or less, right? Probably got the playbook. Scott's working with him, working him through certain things that he's probably struggling with, right? So he can get better and respond to the haters because they had asked Howie Roseman, about the hit piece that came out on Jalen Hurts, and he really didn't big up Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I can understand because you're the GM, you don't want to make nobody feel too superior or too low, but he might agree with some of the stuff that was said in that. Like I said, I can't agree with it totally because the coachable part about it was kind of crazy to me because he's a coach's son. I never really heard nothing about him being hard to coach. Now it's one thing if you push back on something, which I don't think that means you're uncoachable. You just you want more clarity and understanding about what is going on here. Will this benefit me in the right way, and not just have me out here just running for the hills? Because if you can remember, you get KP, and I'm not trying to blame all this on KP, but you get KP coming into interviews and stuff like that, post game interviews or whatever the case may be, and he'll sit there and say, "Oh, we run the ball just to run the ball." And I said that during the season. That don't even sound right. Why would you say something like that? You don't run the ball just to run the ball. You're running the ball to set something up, or whatever the case may be. So just button heads in ways like that. But I think with Sean Mannion coming in here and also working with Scott Loeffler, probably two guys that are going to be very, very hard on him or have been hard on. Well, with Scott has been hard on him and helped him understand the game because Jalen Hurts has spoken to this about trying to keep him around, even though he was let go by the organization. I think, and if y'all can remember, Tom Brady had like a trainer. I can't remember what Buddy name was, but maybe Jalen keeps him around in that capacity to help him advance his game. Because you can still get better year after year, regardless of how old you are and things like that. Most players do hit a plateau after a certain amount of time, but I do feel like Jalen Hurts is one of those guys, like Tom Brady, that will continue to get better and better as the years go on. As long as he has a great supporting cast and things like that, I don't see a problem. I know people were talking about, how are we going to replace AJ Brown if he leaves or whatever the case may be. And all due respect, you don't replace AJ Brown. AJ Brown is a talent, top five wide receiver and things like that. But this is the game. You have to keep adapting. You have to figure out, like I said, the draft's coming up. You got to figure out if they take a wide receiver in the early rounds or in the later rounds or at all in this draft, which I for sure they will. But you got to just figure out, what I'm saying, the next man up. I mean, who's going to be the next man up? Because just like when you found Zach Bond a couple years ago, we didn't know what we were going to get from Zach Bond, but clearly somebody knew something because you bring Zach Bond in here and look how he turned out for us. So there are players in the league, and I'm not sitting there saying that are going to be AJ Brown, but that have the talent that hasn't had the right situation for them to shine yet. So we go out here, we go get Wicks, who is probably very familiar with Sean Mannion's system. Hopefully to get the other guys up to speed. They ended up signing him to a 1 year extension, so we know he's going to be here for 2 years. Um, so that just lets me know also with Nick Sirianni, like I know they say Nick hires the coaches, but did Nick just hire his replacement because this isn't Nick's system, and I don't see them getting rid of this system. You feel what I'm saying? If it don't work out or don't pan out, I see them more or less getting rid of Nick Sirianni if it works out because you got Josh Grizzard, you got Sean Mannion, you got some guys here that have some time in the NFL when it comes to coaching, and that's always our biggest thing year after year, the turnover with the coaches. So this could be setting up to be, the end of the Nick Sirianni era, man, because it's been rumors, like I spoke about before, that they wanted him going during the Super Bowl season. I think maybe the 23 season as well. And the pattern's there with Nick Sirianni. If he doesn't have an offensive minded OC or a competent OC, his offense doesn't go anywhere. We're just as good as going to the first round of the playoffs and getting bounced. So it's all out there now, man. And between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, it's going to be a big year for them. But with Jalen, I just never. It's crazy because I never really worry about him. Devontae Smith is still there. A lot of people were sitting there making speculations like, "Oh, Devontae can't be a wide receiver one." What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's the most decorated wide receiver in the NFL right now. from championships from this level to down under. So I don't understand when people say that. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit tougher for him because he will be the wide receiver that's probably getting doubled. You feel what I'm saying? Hopefully getting Wicks open and whoever they put at wide receiver 3. But it's just going to take some time for us to adjust, man. It's a new offense. I'm not expecting them to come out here and be, guns ablaze or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm expecting them to get up to speed pretty quick. I know Jalen Hurts has been asking for some consistency. He's been asking for more dynamic offense from what you hear in some of his press conferences, and he's finally getting it. So I just hope that he takes heed, learns all he can, and just goes out there. And like I said, if AJ Brown leaves, that gives him more fuel to the fire to go out there and just be the best that he can be. So, and all the rest of the players too, because like I said, I don't know why he feels like this, but I just feel like he thinks his time is up here. So, but yeah, man. But with all that being said, I greatly appreciate everybody that tuned in. Um, had a little situation this week, so me and Mr. Reggie, I got to talk to him. Try to see if we can do some like a Mean Green podcast this weekend, talk about our draft picks and things like that because the draft is on Thursday. I do. I didn't make a board yet. I do apologize, but the biggest thing I'm really worried about right now when it comes to the draft is literally offensive line, bro. You can't go wrong offensive line. We do need a tight end. You also need to look at the edge position, safety position, D line that they feel like they don't require anybody in free agency or whatever the case may be. But those are some of the big positions that I'm looking for now in this draft. And the reason why I really ain't been too into this draft because I really ain't feeling a lot of the players. No disrespect to them, but this ain't one of those drafts where I was like like a Jalen Carter draft, or even like when Cooper DeJean and them got drafted. To me, the talent is. I mean, they have talented players, but it's just not a talented pool of players. Now, next year is supposed to be the draft where you get all these crazy quarterbacks and players of such and things like that. So maybe Howie figures out a way to finagle some picks for next year, maybe a first round pick. Because me personally, I don't think you let AJ Brown go for a first round pick. Um, Excuse me, I don't think he gets a first round pick. AJ Brown does for the simple fact that this has been getting drawn out. I know other players went for first round picks of his caliber, but it's getting drawn out. Then people know he doesn't want to be here as well, so it lessens his value. Reports came out about his knees and things like that. So, like I said, with Diana Rossini, man, she was out here running these hit pieces and stuff like that, and it could be true. But at the same time, it lessens the value for us. That's why I was sitting there talking about it being a tampering situation. But nevertheless, man, it is what it is. Like I said, I greatly appreciate his time here if he does leave, and it just is what it is, man. I'm not going to trip off that, and and y'all shouldn't either, to be honest. So, with that being said, man, I'm gonna hop off of here. Greatly appreciate everybody that tuned in. Please like, comment, and subscribe to always catch this vibe. And y'all already know what it is, baby. Go Birds. I'ma holla at y'all. Be safe.